Liberty Falls, one of the 2 zombies maps that came with Black Ops 6, has just had the Easter egg go live, and we solved it with MrDalekJD, Craig, and I'm Geeky. Massive thanks to them for helping out with this. So in this video, I'm just going to show you how to complete it as simply as possible. So your first objective is to try and build this jet gun. It's upstairs in the motel, and if you want some hints on kind of how to do it, there are some radios about there the first time that you do this. But basically your goal is going to be to try and find 3 pieces that you need to attach to the jet gun to get going. So for the first couple of rounds, you just want to be getting some points and salvage together and doing what you would normally do to go up the hill, unlock the church, and open up the Pack-a-Punch. In terms of weapons and loadout for this map, I would strongly suggest the second shotgun, the kind of semi-automatic one. I think that's really good. But you're going to want to get prepared, you know, have that up to Pack-a-Punch 2 at least, and get some perks together and get your armor up to level 2, things like that before you go into the end of this Easter egg. So just keep on trying to do that as you go. So once you get into the church, you can interact with this device. There's no interact prompt or anything like that. You just walk up to it, press your normal interact button, and then you'll start talking to this guy who's a little bit creepy. Panos, you can see he's all blue and ghosty. He's talking about, oh, like, we expected you to turn up here. You must be Project Janus security, because remember, in the intro to this map, there was all alarms going off. Richtofen was got out of bed because there was something going wrong here in Liberty Falls, and he was summoning Liberty Falls security, which is the Project Janus security, to come and help. That's who you're meant to be in this. Anyway, you can listen to Panos talk for a little while.
Unable to leave. Somehow my dimensional resonance got reset when we tried to close the breach, trapping me in the dark ether. But now that you are here, we can finally end this nightmare. My colleagues and I had 3 devices, limited trans-dimensional gateways. Salvage what is left of them. That component, for instance, in the null-gravity field. With a little ingenuity, I'm sure you can retrieve it. Once we have enough parts to build a working LTG, then the shoe will be on the other foot.
So he wants you to build a working LTG, whatever the hell that is. If you interact with the machine again, he does talk a little bit more, saying he's patched into your signal, so he would be able to help you. Now, when this Easter egg's just gone live, there's no real extra help about this at all. There is going to be a guided mode coming out later, where you'll get some extra objective markers and things to help you. But if you manage to finish it before that comes out, you actually get a special calling card at the end, and I'll show you that right at the end, just to kind of prove that you did it without the in-game assistance. So now you've heard everything that Panos has to say. It's kind of set the scene for this Easter egg. Your first stop is going to be to the florists. So if you come out of the church, you basically just want to turn left and then go down the road there, follow it around, and that'll eventually take you to the florist. So you head down this road, and then on your left, you'll see the florist, and there's a little water valve just outside. It's just going to stick out the wall. You just interact with that, and you'll pop it in your pocket. That's the water valve. You're going to need that in a second. Now we need to head over to the bowling alley, which is pretty much on the other side of the map. Now this part, if you're solo, is going to be incredibly difficult. With a team, it's quite a lot easier, although I still had a few problems with it. So what you need to do is go up to this panel on the wall and just give it a quick shoot. That'll pop off the cover of it. And then you need to hold interact on it to place the water valve. And then you need to hold interact and turn the water valve. Now while you do this, zombies will start attacking you, and you have to keep on holding the water valve. If you let go of it for just a couple of seconds, it's okay, your progress will remain. But if you let go of it for too long, the water pressure will start going down again. So if you're in a team, obviously one player holds onto that while the rest of the team try to clear out all the zombies and try to protect them. If you're solo, you kind of need to make sure that you hold it for as long as you can possibly hold out, and then run away a bit. Maybe use things like decoys or monkey bombs to try and distract the enemies, and then run around and do it again. Apparently it's super difficult to do that because the zombies will just keep on coming to attack you. This step does take quite a while, where you just need to keep on holding it and getting sprayed in the face with water, but once it's complete, this will pop out. It's the water pressure gauge. So you've basically like built up the pressure enough that the water pressure gauge has popped off, and that's actually the first part that you need for the jet gun. And remember, you need 3 parts to build that. As an aside, you can skip all of this if you just get the jet gun by getting really lucky with the mystery box or something like that. But I don't think you can rely on that. There are some gobblegums that make it so you'll definitely get a wonder weapon out of the mystery box, but this guide is going to assume you're not using those. Now, the next step of the Easter egg is a little bit of a pain. Basically, you need to go find the groundskeeper at the graveyard. Now, we think the way that you get him to spawn is to go up here and you see that coffin. If you shoot it a bit, you'll see some purple sparks come out. Maybe that's something to do with triggering him to spawn, because there is a radio that does talk about him going to the funeral home. I don't think that's necessary, but I'm just showing it to you just in case. Basically, the groundskeeper will spawn somewhere around the graveyard at some point. I've had people in chat tell me that he spawns sometimes when they haven't been doing anything to do with the Easter egg at all, and then there's been some times, like now in this game, where I went to the graveyard having done all of the prerequisite Easter egg steps, and he just didn't spawn for like 2 rounds. It's super frustrating. Just keep on checking in the graveyard. Basically, you just want to hang around in there until he ends up spawning. He'll just like climb out of the ground, spawn like any other zombie, but whereas every other zombie has zombie over their name, he will have the very distinctive groundskeeper over his name. So as I said, I managed to find him on round 8. I just pack-a-punched and I came back into the graveyard, and here he was. You can see it says groundskeeper. He's got like a hat on and some dungarees. When you kill him, you should have near his body the tool shed key that you can pick up. I couldn't actually see it as an item. I think it had clipped into the ground, but I can still pick it up. Then once you've got that, you can run around the corner to his tool shed, just interact with the door. It will open up, and then on the right in here, you will find the handbrake for the jet gun. So that's 2 parts out of 3 that you've got now. For the last part, you're either going to need a very well-behaved mangler, or you're going to need a mangler arm. So you've got a few different ways of doing this. You can just wait until a mangler spawns, and then you can use them to do what we're about to do. Or you can build up a lot of salvage. I think it's 1250 salvage in order to be able to build a mangler cannon. Or you can get it, obviously, as a reward from doing trials and things like that. Or you can get one of those injector things, which then turns you into a mangler. Whatever makes it work so you can get access to a mangler cannon. We went down the route of spending all of our salvage to buy the mangler cannon, sort of like craft it at a workbench. You can just go to a crafting table and then select it. It's one of the support items. It costs a lot. That's why my gun is still grey rarity. And then the radio shop that you're going to, Radio House, is just here, kind of down this street that heads towards the comic book shop. So once you've got the mangler cannon, just clear a little bit of space for yourself so you don't get interrupted and you can get a lovely video of this. Then you want to equip the mangler cannon, and what you're going to do is blow the door off the hinges, the sort of gate across it, to the radio house. So just get your mangler cannon out, charge it up, fire 1 blast into it, and then you can go inside. If you can find a mangler, you can actually just stand in front of this, get him to shoot it, it'll do the same thing. Once you're inside, you can find this pile of rubbish on the floor. There's different locations in there where it can spawn, but it's always the same looking thing. Interact with it, that'll give you the electrical wires, and you can pick them up, and that is the last part of the jet cannon. Now you've got all 3 parts, you can head back to the motel, which is just kind of opposite spawn, and then if you go upstairs in the motel, just where I'm going in here, you'll then be able to craft the jet cannon, the thing that you've been trying to get this entire time so far in the Easter egg. It's just on this table here. It's absolutely huge, this workbench, with the jet cannon on top. Just craft it, hold the interact button for a little while, and then that will appear. Obviously, it takes up a slot of one of your weapons, so I didn't have a second weapon, so I could just put it in there. Now, to use this, I actually didn't know the buttons at first. Left trigger will fire this like percussive burst that happens really, really fast and uses up all of your ammo. Right trigger will suck things in. The right trigger's the one you want. Don't make the same mistake I did repeatedly while I was filming this. So now you're going to be trying to find all the different pieces of the machine that you're going to be building. So the first one is just in the comic shop. So if you go into the comic shop and then just look above the little bit behind the counter in the middle, in the roof there's a bit missing, and that is the bit you need. You can see there I pressed the wrong button, so I fired a burst, but it did suck something towards me very quickly, so I could just hop up and then grab this. That still worked, which is kind of lucky. So that's the first piece that you're going to need. You can't go prone while you're holding the jet gun, which I didn't know. Kind of interesting. Anyway, once you've got that, the second one is in a window, basically, that's quite high up. So if you go around here, around the back of the comic book shop and up these steps, then you can run around to kind of the back part of these buildings. We're kind of near where the florist was earlier. But if you run around the back part, you can climb up onto the roof up here, and you want to jump on top of the white vehicle down there, the white truck. So if you turn around, you can see the part you need just in that window. Again, I pressed the wrong button, which kind of sucked the thing a little bit towards me, but nowhere near enough, and I was out of ammo. And with the jet gun, you don't actually need to pick up more ammo. You just have to wait quite a long while. So I was going to wait it, but then the other two with me, Craig and Geeky, were like, oh, but can you pick it up just by dropping down in front of it? Is it possible to pick it up if you get it stuck in this kind of position? I sucked it towards myself a little bit more there because I still didn't know how the buttons work. Don't worry, I worked it out after this mistake. But then I was like, okay, we'll see if we can grab it rather than just having to keep on waiting for the ammo. So I had a go at trying to jump across to it to see if that would work. It didn't. I couldn't jump far enough. But I could just run around back onto the rooftop, climbing up here, and then obviously I could just drop down and grab it out of the air there. As long as you can touch it, you can grab it. So that's the second part of the device that you're going to be building. Now the third part is actually the easiest part and probably the one that a lot of other people would get first, but it just makes more sense to do it in this order. You'll see why in a second. If you go into the church, the third part is just floating in the air, which is super easy. So you can walk right into the church and then just look up and you'll see something that looks like a purple top hat just floating there. Hold the right trigger to suck in. See, I learned how to do it now. And then that's the final part. Now you need a good workspace to put it together. And just, you know, use your common sense. Where would be a really good workspace to build a prototype, experimental, scientific device that does something weird like breaking the dimensions of reality? That's right. We can all say it together. The bank roof. That's where everyone builds their devices, right? You go onto the roof of the bank and you go and interact on this big workbench here. I've got no idea why you do it here. It seems super weird to me. But anyway, just go and assemble it up here, interact just like you do with a jet gun, and then you can pick up the LTG. Now, you actually need one other device before you go and do the next bit. You need to go back to the church and you're going to need an ether canister. People who played like MWZ and stuff probably sick to death of ether canisters, but it's a thing you need. So go back into the church, and to get it, you just need to interact with the device that you interacted with right at the beginning of the Easter egg. Remember that, like 10 minutes ago? So interact with this one that's sticking out. You'll pick it up again. No interact prompts for any of these. I'm not sure if that'll change in guided mode, but a little bit weird. Now you've got the ether canister and you've got the LTG. You need to go and capture the essence of some high value targets, some really scary guys. Now, this next step, we make it look probably more difficult than it is. I don't think it's that complicated and that difficult, but it did take us a couple of tries. So for the first one, you can actually do these in any order, but we'll do the first one this way. If you go all the way back down to the front of the comic book shop, sort of near where this bus is, near where you broke into Radio House, you'll see there's one of these ether storms. You can then place the LTG on there, and what will happen is it will start opening up a portal that needs to stabilize, and loads of stupid zombies will try to run into it. If you don't manage to protect it from the stupid zombies that want to run into it, it will end up failing. And this is kind of what happens to us. We just don't do a very good job. We got distracted trying to shoot the manglers. We didn't do a very good job. You can see the zombies don't even attack it. They just walk into it, and every time they walk into it, it takes about a kind of 1/7 of the health down, something like that. So just try to protect it as well as you can. If it does end up failing like it did for us, we had too many zombies walk into it. You can see there, it just kind of goes red. All you need to do is flip the rounds, go into the next round, and then you can activate it again. So once you do manage to defend it successfully, at the end of it, this sort of extra portal will end up spawning, and then it will go red, and this will spawn an abomination for the first one. It's a named abomination, so it's a little bit tougher than normal ones, but that's actually kind of a good thing. Now what you need to do is take the ether canister over here to where there's this big ether trap. Oh, by the way, all this time you've been carrying the ether canister, you can't run with it. You can't run with it while it's on your back. That's why I'm going a little bit slowly. You can just put it down and pick it up later. That's not a problem at all. For some reason, I didn't do that for a very long time. I didn't really realize that you could just put it down. where you need to put it down is basically any of the ether traps. So like I said, there's a set of them here. You can put the canister down there and you'll be fine. Now what you're trying to do is to weaken the named abomination until it starts glowing purple, and then you have to stop attacking it. You don't want to attack it anymore once it's gone purple. So just keep on shooting it, try to get its health down until it gets to the point where it glows purple. And we had to be quite careful here because we had some of the napalm effects on, which can obviously do damage over time and stuff like that. But as soon as it starts glowing purple, and be careful with abominations because obviously you can blast off their heads and that kind of causes a bit of a problem because it does loads of damage. You can see there, purple spark shot out of it. As soon as that happens, you need to activate the dark ether field generator, and then it needs to be in the trap with the canister near it. Just put it on the floor somewhere near it, and then its essence will get captured. You don't need to kill the abomination yourself. It will just get killed by the trap, and then its essence will go in the canister. Then you need to pick up the canister, and you've got about 1.5 minutes to take it back up to the church and put it in the device that you got it out of. 1.5 minutes doesn't sound like very long, but if you've got the rest of your team clearing out zombies, or you just did this sensibly at the end of a round, then you'll be absolutely fine. It doesn't actually take, it takes like half that time, I think, to walk back up to the church. So walk all the way back up to the church through the portal to get into the dark ether, and then you're just going to slot that ether canister into the machine on the right. So you just go over here and slot it in. Now, as soon as you've done that, a little tray will open up on the machine and you can pick up a Strauss counter. For the next part, you're going to have to take this Strauss counter and find 3 little things that look a bit like projectors, or a bit like Nintendo's old Rob the Robot, remember that? You're going to have to find them and change them to fit the color that's on your Strauss counter. So the first one is just out here on the grass. You can see, I look at my counter and see, oh, my counter's gone yellow. So I can interact with this until it also goes yellow. Yep, they match, perfect. Then for the second one, you need to go back up top, and you're basically going to go up near where that shed was that you opened up earlier. Remember that? So you just run across here, run behind this little house, just on the grass kind of. There's a little lawn on the right here. So you can move over here and then interact with this one, exactly the same. This one was yellow as well for me. They can be yellow, green, or red, so just match them up to whatever they are. They were yellow for me again. And then the last one is kind of in a weird place. You need to get onto the roof of the bank. So if you jump up here, and then you should be able to take a zip line across. You might need to open this if it's not already open. And then you go over to the other side of the bank and just drop down onto this little roof. Then turn right. You can see it's just on the corner here. This one was red, so I should have had to turn this to red, but I interacted with it and it just immediately worked for some reason. I've got no idea why. I couldn't interact with it again. As soon as I touched it, it was fine. I think that might be because it goes red first and then it went green to show it was correct. But anyway, once they're all the correct color, you'll see all of these beams of energy going to it, and they're all kind of convalescing over in a place near the gas station. And that's where the next ether canister is that you're going to have to go pick up. So head on over to the gas station, just kind of near where you spawned, and this thing that used to be glowing purple, that's now an ether canister that you can just pick up. Again, once you've picked it up, you'll be really, really slow. And you also need to go pick up the LTG thing that you were using earlier to kind of summon the monsters. I'd actually forgotten that part, so I went all the way up to the graveyard. Then I had to come back to remember to pick up this thing. So pick up that thing, and then you can go all the way up to the graveyard where there's basically the exact same thing. There's another one of those ether storms, just like the one that you saw down there outside Radio House, and you're going to have to do the same thing. Place the LTG down, and then defend it, and then try and capture the high value target that pops out of it, capture the essence of it. So if you just go up these stairs, and then you can go around, and then on the right, there's the graveyard. You probably will have seen these ether storms, like from the very beginning, like as soon as you started playing this map. So you can see there's another ether storm there. You can just go up, there's a little sort of pedestal underneath it, put the LTG down there. If this doesn't work, it's because you forgot to pick it up. And it does the exact same thing, it will start summoning a load of zombies. This time, Craig had a chopper gunner, and you can't use the chopper gunner for the last boss, or as far as we know, you can't use the chopper gunner for the last boss. So we were just like, oh, okay, well, you can just do that, and he completely defended for the first part of it. Once you've defended it for the right amount of time, then it'll go red again, and then a big angry mangler will pop out this time. Again, he's a named enemy. He looks a bit different. He's got all like red armor on. He's one of the boss ones. Now you can go to the nearest ether trap, which is just down here in this alleyway. And it's basically the same deal. You need to weaken him until he starts glowing purple, then activate the trap. Make sure you've put the canister down somewhere near him, and then when he walks into the trap, he will end up getting sucked into it. As you can see, I actually got downed here because this is a bit of a pain. But you can see there, he's gone purple, trap's on, he gets his essence sucked into the canister again. Then the same thing, you just pick up the canister. For some reason it wouldn't pick up for me, it was kind of annoying here. Pick it up, you can kind of walk through a bit of this trap, it's not that bad. It does a little bit of damage, but not a lot. And then just take it to the church like you did before. Then that's pretty much the entire Easter egg complete. All you've got left now is the boss fight. So now's a really good time to kind of get prepared. So just take that canister back up. Again, you've got a minute and a half to slot it in. Then that's all of them done. And if you look at the machine, it will say you can start the final encounter. Now, I strongly suggest you really get prepared for this. The fight that you're going to be going into is pretty tough. You're going to have 3 waves of enemies and there's a bunch of difficult ones. So it's a good idea to try and make sure you know you've got 2 slots of armor. You've got at least tier 2 Pack-a-Punch, obviously depending on the level. If you're up to like level 25 by now, you probably want tier 3 Pack-a-Punch. We were at level 11 when we did this, but a lot of us were still on tier 1 Pack-a-Punch. I still had a green weapon, didn't have any perks or anything like that because I'd gone down. So we were like, okay, we'll spend a few rounds getting ready. So once you've got ready, and I strongly suggest maybe putting napalm on your guns, that seems to help because it does bonus damage against both manglers and abominations that you're going to be fighting in here, and maybe have some way of distracting zombies. So having things like monkey bombs or decoy grenades, things like that can really help, and kill streaks, things that you don't need to fire from the sky. So things like having the injectors that turn you into a mangler, stuff like that can be useful. Once you're in there, you just interact with that machine again. Everything will end up going white and kind of destroying all the zombies that are already in there. And now you're going to be fighting 3 waves. The first wave is pretty much just zombies. They start spawning all over the place. You can see there's one coming in here, and things very, very quickly get out of hand. Like, this really escalates quickly. There's lots and lots of zombies. You don't have a lot of space. You do have a Pack-a-Punch machine in here and ammo, so obviously you will be getting some points from all of these zombies. So if you haven't quite got to the Pack-a-Punch you want, you might be able to do it during the fight. But hopefully you can see why you need to get prepared. There is a difference in the number of enemies that you have from whether there's 3 or 4 players or whether you're solo. When we did this with 4 players, we ended up having an absolute ton of mangler spawn. I think by the final wave we had 2 abominations and 4 manglers, boss manglers, all in this tiny little room with us. With 3 of us, we didn't have to do, I think, even half of that. It was about half of the enemies that we had. You can see here there's a boss one at the end of the first wave. When you're doing this solo, you actually get a few less, but it's still pretty hard. You can see here I ended up going down a little bit. After each wave, you will get some rewards to kind of help you carry on. So after the first one, you get a full armor power up. After the second one, you get a full ammo power up. And then the third one, you'll end up finishing it. One thing that we found just in this little moment was that when the abomination spawns, when it uses its laser attack, if you put the manglers just in front of the laser attack, it seems to kill them instantly, which is unbelievably helpful. So if you can kite them just to be in front of the abomination, we don't know whether it's just a fluke in our game, a glitch or something, but it seemed to work. The abomination's lasers might actually damage the manglers, which can be super useful because these boss manglers are unbelievably tough. They just take so many hits. Do try to take out the zombies. I don't think that the zombies are unlimited. I don't think there's an infinite number of them. So it's worth trying to clear them out so you can deal with the bosses a little bit more. You can see there, the abomination just fired and both the manglers have gone now. That's super weird. But anyway, that meant that all we had to do was kill this abomination. As I said, if you're doing this with 4 people, there might be more abominations, there might be 2. I think you're always going to be fighting 1. The napalm does extra damage to it, which is super useful. And remember, you can Pack-a-Punch if you need to in here. You can go buy extra armor if you need to. Just keep on shooting this thing in the face. As soon as you can see one of its faces glowing, you can just keep on shooting it in the face. Once it dies, don't be too worried that all of you will get killed. So you will have killed all of them, and then suddenly everyone gets downed, and now we just go into the final cutscene.
Alpha team, how copy? Somebody tell me what just happened. Any station this net, what is your status? And if you've hurt them, I swear I'll...
No interruptions for this next part.
Thank you, my friends, for volunteering to take my place here. Or, in your parlance, thank you for being voluntold. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a few scores to settle. Bye-bye, Dark Ether.
So that's it, not the happiest of endings for you. You then get the choice to continue playing or to exit. If you continue, you'll be given Perkaholic as well as crystals that will fully pack-a-punch a weapon, some special ether tools, a few really high-level weapons, a bunch of stuff just to play with if you want to. Or you can just back out and then you'll get this nice menu that says main quest complete. Then you've now unlocked that calling card that you can see Geeky showing off in the bottom left, the one that says Liberty Falls, with the special gold skull on it. The gold skull on the calling cards means you did this before guided mode starts, you did it early, so you get this special version of the calling card. You also get a special blueprint for the ray gun that seems to be kind of bugged right now, but it's this special kind of blue looking one of it. If you try to equip it, it doesn't work for some reason. Instead, it goes over the beam smasher. It's very strange. But anyway, you can put a blue skin on the ray gun if you want, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, that's everything. If you found this useful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.